So one of the intriguing questions for everyone, whether you are a religious person or a scientist who doesn't believe in religion, or anyone, for that matter, who is a human being, is intrigued by one question. Why is it that someone is born in Bill Gates' family, who has been the richest man of the world for 16 times, and why somebody is born in Africa and then doesn't even have water to drink and then die? So congenitally, you see there is some inequality. So that questions all our democratic, socialistic systems, for which you don't have, all of them cannot answer this question, why there is congenital inequality. There is only one answer to this, and that is soul genetics, which I just coined the term and introduced it a decade ago, which is repackaging and contemporizing the ancient concept of Tarpanam. So you are not in control of your intelligence, of your prosperity, of your relationship. All these are linked to what is called soul genetics. Just as you inherit biogenetics, and you inherit also the soul. And the soul meaning here, the problems of the souls or the merits of the souls. You inherit both. So when you inherit the merit of the soul, then you are born in Bill Gates' family, his children were directly connected to him. And he himself was connected to his ancestors. So his success is not simply his own doing. His ancestors' blessings, incredible blessings to get to that level. So to answer your question, how is it that intelligence is transferred? It is genetically, biogenetically transferred, that is science. But what is religion saying? Now you have to go and ask the fundamental question about the soul. For instance, your heart pumps, and who is making that to happen? The soul. The soul is responsible for your life. And if the soul leaves the body is dead. And the body even is very despicable to look at when the soul leaves the body. But unfortunately, people don't even care for the soul. And they don't want to answer the question, who is pumping the blood? Who is making this heart to pulsate? And who is making you to breathe? Okay. So all these questions are related to the soul. So you have to fix the soul. This is where the uniqueness of this Indian tradition of Tarpanam works in a practical sense. Now you and your ancestors are connected at the soul level. Your thoughts or his thoughts or her thoughts, because it works for both the ancestors of the mother and father lineage. So you are connected. So whatever they think, you think also. Whatever you think, they think also. Although they are now not in the physical body, they are solely connected. And this is a great science. And not only science, but a practical wisdom that I have tested on so many people. in many previous recordings, I have explained that even scientists have been proved by people who, the priests who are able to see the ancestors coming and talking to the priest, because ordinarily people don't have the ability to see the spirits. And one time there was a Michael Jackson's, somebody wanted to do a Tarpanam for Michael Jackson, and he went, and then it was on the newspaper in India, and how his soul was talking to this priest, some details, I don't want to go into that, and that was a proof. But anyway, so that you can fix it. So your problems are attributed to your forefathers, are on both the mother and father's side for several generations. They say usually 21 generations. So there is a way to answer the most difficult question of how can I fix my relationship, my finance, my intelligence. All this can be fixed through this ancient technology called Ancestor, Tarpanam, offering the food. And then earlier on, I had talked about the substances that are offered to the spirits have the ability to communicate with them. They have special nuclear energy. At some point of time, and I want to do some scientific research on that. So what's the next question?
The next question is, you've told us that the ancestors come on the new moon. So what is the significance of the new moon? Why do they come on this day every month? And what's special about the Mahalaya, this particular new moon coming up this week?
Now the moon affects the human body and the mind also. This is science too. When it is full moon, you know that people who are mentally disturbed, they are connected by the souls. So they behave, quite hard. Their illness, shows up dramatically during the time of the full moon. And during the new moon, the opposite happens. The mind becomes so quiet, not agitated. And the lunacy is very important, because they somehow knew that the moon is connected to our mind or the brain and the entire body itself, because the body is 3/4 water, and then the moon responds. The water and the moon have a special connection. If you go to the ocean, you can see the water on a new moon. Full moon is, uptide water. So that's the science part of it. So the moon and the soul, the mind, the brain, the body, they are all connected. So if you miss this is a good question. If you miss this Mahalaya period for whatever reason, it's not you can catch up during the next full moon. So every full moon, you have the opportunity for connecting with
right? New moon.
the ancestors. So that's why I encourage people that you have to do at least the simple Tarpanam that you can yourself do, just do it in your bathroom. Or if you want an expert to do it, then you can do that too. Okay. So new moon is the time that your soul can connect with the ancestor's soul, or to go by what the tradition says, they come down to your house and knock the door. Okay, they are asking for food, and if you give them food, especially this particular food, and then they are happy. And then they are not only happy, their consciousness changes. And then it is a technology to change the consciousness of your ancestors who are suffering in another plane. And by making them happy, then you also impact your own consciousness, your own destiny, your own demerits that are causing a lot of physical problems. So this is why, to answer your question, why the new moon.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you. Another question we get a lot is, who can we do the ancestor ritual for? So we know that it's direct ancestors, parents, grandparents. We know it's relatives, children that have passed on. But some people ask about friends, associates, things of that nature. And in the past, you said that's maybe not the best, but we want to hear about who specifically can we do these rituals for?
Generally speaking, you can do it to anyone, but and the response will be better if you do or to your relatives. A non-relative, or you can do to a non-relative too. Okay. Because today I'm going to do the Tarpanam, I'm going to do it for Einstein. Just to say some anecdotal thing that I have been working on him for some time. And so it's very interesting that he needs to kind of go to another plane, because before his death, he said, don't put me on artificial breathing or anything. If I'm, fall down, which he did, just take me to the hospital. If I die, don't help me. And prior to that, he said something very interesting. Oh my God. I know a lot of secrets about the universe. Gee, I don't have enough mathematical background to put this together in an equation. So what it meant was, he would die, and then he would be born as a mathematician and a physicist, so that he could accomplish what he could not accomplish in that lifetime. And he's a great brain. He's a great brain, And so I'm going to do something to facilitate, so that if he's not still born, then he'll be able to do better. So anyway, I will figure that out. Mm-hmm. So you can do it for anyone. It's better to do it to your relatives because the response is good, and also karmically it is right. But you can do it to anyone. As I said, it's called Karunya Tarpanam. Karunya means you are very compassionate towards some friend of yours, or acquaintance of yours who died and then you wanted to help his or her soul to go through, then you can do that. But there's some karma involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Another question we get is, how do we know when the ancestor has reached that Pitru Loka, the higher plane? Because that's where they can bless us the most. We talked about the last webinar. Once they become exalted ancestors, the Pitrus, then we get intense blessings. You said those are closer to God. How do we know if we have any of those? And how do we continue to help our other ancestors get to that higher level?
Maybe you should watch your bank balance. if it miraculously you're able to get a contract or something, or somebody gives the money, mm-hmm. and then and you want to account for it. It did not happen for a long time or all through your life, and suddenly something changes, and then how do you account? And because you have been very regular in doing Tarpanam, and then that's the easiest way of knowing. If you want an evidence, then they may appear in your dream. Because I've been, during this time, I'm seeing my mother coming, They usually come in your dream during this time. Or there are specialists who can see that. Some of them work for Astrobed, I trust the chief guy the priest, and who is directly in contact with them, But then it's such an ordeal for the priest to monitor everybody, but he can do that. To my knowledge, he is one of the very few people who can do that. He will be able to see and talk to the ancestor. But the most important thing is that is not important. We are not interested in scientific evidence. We are interested in whether or not there is impact in our personal lives. That is how you see it works.
Absolutely, which is what you said earlier, which is how do we know this practical application of health, relationships, smartness, is we'll see it in our life.
So you can concentrate on Pitrus relationship. It's easy to do that because you completely go on. It's not that you need to do it only on New Moon Day. And I ask people who have been studying with me, do it every day. Do it every day. You are doing it every day, don't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
And then we also have what I also do is the daily Tarpanam that we have in Pillai Center, so that we have someone doing it always, and then I do it at home. So getting the experts involved. And last time you talked more specifically about how having one of these particular priests be able to help our ancestors in a more significant way than we can, because they have the practice, because they have the lineage that actually allows them to speak to them. So
they have the ability. They have the, I don't know, some kind of powers they have acquired in their previous lifetimes. They came back to this earth plane to do this service for humanity, and then they have this ability to talk to the spirits of the ancestors.
Yes, exactly. One last question, Dr. Pillai. People often ask us about how do we know if they have curses from their ancestors, and how do we remove them? Is it the same process as Tarpanam?
It is different. Although Tarpanam can fix it, the curses have to be removed by directly focusing on the person who may have put the curse on you. And then it is difficult to directly deal with the soul that cursed you. That soul is still going to carry on. And for that, you can do other prayers to gods and goddesses, to intervene on your behalf. And they will go and fix the problem. I just remember Shirdi Sai Baba was one day in a park, and he was like a beggar, he used to beg. Actually, it's not a beggar, he was literally a beggar. Not that he could not get the money, he can himself create money and do a lot of miracles, but he would only beg and eat the food that he gathered up through begging. One day he was in a park. There was a devotee of him who was born as a frog. And then there was a guy, the frog, the devotee, when he died, Shirdi Sai Baba, you should always protect me when I am being hurt by another person or life-threatening things happen, you should help me. So when this snake came, and the snake was trying to swallow the frog, and it was in a park, and then Shirdi Baba ran to that place and then addressed both the snake and the frog. They were enemies in their lifetimes. The snake was John and the frog was Peter. John, leave Peter alone. People were wondering, what's that? What is he talking about? There are only snake and frog. But he knew. So the enmity continues life after life after life. So that for removing curses, there are other things that you can do. I think, I'm sure that Astroved does something for curse.
Okay. And maybe you can do a program for us one day on protection and psychic defense.
We'll see. I'm too tight now. I cannot promise, because I've done that before, so you could use my whole material.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Pillai, we have these events that occur. So Ganesha's birthday, and then Mahalaya. So Ganesha's starting everything, and then Mahalaya for the ancestors. Next we have Navaratri. After that there's Skandashashti. Is there a sequence that happens in which they happen in this particular order as we move from Mahalaya in a few days on to Navaratri coming up next month, and then Skandashashti the month after?
Well, again, these are specific time periods where we come into contact with specific forms of energy. The ancestors' energy now, during the Mahalaya. A month ago, it was Ganesha's birthday. And then next comes the goddesses getting into this earth plane, particularly to kill negativity in general. and then bless you with prosperity and courage and intelligence. These are the three major themes: intelligence, prosperity, and courage. That will be the 9 days of the goddess. And then again the 6 days of Muruga, who, I'm going to do both programs, I've been inspired to do that. See, my way of presenting things, I have come here to do it in a different way, just not as a religion, because I just want to myself understand things better, in a scientific way, because science is very precise. And people can relate to it when I talk about soul genetics, which nobody does. Oh, yeah, right. There is soul, it is passed on, and then I want to know about why somebody is born in Bill Gates' family and somebody in a slum. All these things can be answered scientifically. So anyway, the sequence are representing the time periods in which these gods and goddesses descend into the earth plane to help human beings, because they know that the human beings have limited intelligence, and then they need help, and then the gods are infinitely merciful, and they are out there to help human beings to solve their problems.